Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
And happy Valentine's Day as well. Thank you all for being here, and it's great to see you all, to celebrate with Ben and me on this special day. This week's Torah portion is Mishpatim. Mishpatim is a set of dozens of laws that are helpful guidelines for leading a good life. There are laws about owning animals, laws about borrowing from others, and laws about paying debt. Some of the laws seem obsolete and are hard to make sense of in the modern world. For example, we are told, "You shall not tolerate a sorceress." CBST is a very inclusive synagogue. But I personally haven't seen many people running around casting spells, and the Wicked Witch of the West is already dead. So I don't think sorceresses are a big issue today. But some of the rules Mishpatim puts forth are still very relevant. For example, we are told, "Im havol tachbol shalmat re'echa ad bo hashemesh tishevenu lo." If you take your neighbor's garment in pledge, you must return it before the sun sets, for that is their only covering, the sole garment for their skin. In what else shall they sleep? On the surface, it seems to say that if you borrow clothes from your neighbor, give them back before nightfall, because otherwise, what would they sleep in? But it's more than that. In pledge means in exchange for a loan. In ancient times, people sometimes offered clothes as collateral when they borrowed money. The Torah teaches us that we need to have compassion for our neighbor. If they are so poor that they are giving us the clothes off their back to borrow money, what will they do when it gets cold at night? The deeper meaning of this rule is that we need to care for our neighbor more than we care for our money. It's more important to be a good person than to be a good business person. But there is another rule I want to focus on that I think has special meaning given what is going on in the world around us. In Mishpatim, we are also told, "V'ger lo toneh velo tilchatzenu ki gerim heyitem be'eretz Mitzrayim." You shall not wrong or oppress a stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. There are 53 laws in Mishpatim, but this law is the only one to appear twice. Why? And why is the wording slightly different each time? The first time, we are told, "You shall not wrong or oppress a stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt." The second time, we are told, "V'ger lo tilchatz ve'atem yedatem et nefesh hager ki gerim heyitem be'eretz Mitzrayim." You shall not oppress a stranger, for you know the feelings of the stranger, having yourselves been strangers in the land of Egypt. Why the difference? And what does it mean to be a stranger? The obvious answer is that a stranger is someone we've never met before. But I think there's more to it than that. We all know the story of the Israelites in Egypt, strangers in a strange land. Why were the Israelites strangers? They weren't strangers because the Egyptians hadn't met them. They lived as neighbors for a long time. The Israelites were strangers because they weren't like everyone around them. They were different. They had a different religion. They may have looked different. Most importantly, they had a different God. First, we are told, "You shall not wrong or oppress a stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt." God is telling us to show sympathy for strangers because we once carried that same burden. We should treat them well because when we were strangers, that's how we would have wanted to be treated. But the second time, we are told, "You shall not oppress a stranger, for you know the feelings of the stranger." This time, the emphasis is on how the stranger feels, rather than how we felt when we were strangers. The focus is on empathy, rather than sympathy. It's not that we feel sorry for them, but that we feel with them. We have had the experience of being strangers, of being mistreated, and we know and understand how they feel. In school, some of us learn about the golden rule and the platinum rule. The golden rule is familiar. Treat others the way you want to be treated. That's sympathy, feeling compassion for others. The platinum rule is a little different. Treat others the way they want to be treated. That's empathy. We try to understand their feelings and what they are going through. In my elementary school, we sang a song called Walk a Mile. The lyrics are, I want to walk a mile in your shoes. I want to know what you're thinking and how you feel. I want to walk a mile in your shoes. This is what Mishpatim teaches us. Treat others the way they want to be treated. Put yourselves in their shoes and walk a mile. Think about what it's like. Look beyond the fact that they may look different or come from somewhere else or have different customs, and see the world through their eyes, through their experiences. Walk a mile in their shoes. I was thinking about this rule in the context of my own life, and I realized that there are a lot of ways in which I'm different from my friends. Very few of my friends at school are Jewish, and none of them have two dads. Recently, I was in a health class where we learned about microaggressions. Our teacher asked the class if any of us had an example of a microaggression from our lives, and I raised my hand. I told a story about a nurse at my summer camp. I had asked the nurse for allergy medicine, and she told me that she needed to ask my mom before she gave me any. My classmates giggled because they knew I have two dads. My teacher obviously didn't. She said, Hannah, that's a great example. I know exactly how it feels when people think your mom knows you better than you do. My teacher had no idea why my classmates found that so funny. She wasn't being unkind on purpose, but took from her own experience of having a mom and a dad, and treated me through the lens of her own life. She had completely missed the point. She wasn't thinking about the fact that my experience might not be the same as hers. I laughed it off, but it honestly hurt a little bit. But today, especially today, this lesson has a much more important meaning on a much larger scale. Think about what is happening in cities like Minneapolis and Chicago and LA and all of the other cities where ICE agents have been sent. Look at what America is doing to strangers who are coming to our land meaning no harm. Armed government agents are violently deporting immigrants who have committed no crimes and killing those who are trying to peacefully resist. Today, more than ever, it is important to understand that people who look different or who come from somewhere else or who speak different languages or practice different traditions are not strangers. Like us, they are just trying to live their best lives. We as Jews came to America for the same reason, or maybe our grandparents or their parents did. They came for a better life. We as Jews know what it is like to be strangers. We as Jews know the exact feeling of being strangers in a strange land. We as Jews must not simply treat others with sympathy because we feel bad about the situation they are in. We must have empathy. We must walk a mile in their shoes. Shabbat Shalom.